Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. The big story of the world is that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and top security officials have been killed in the US and Israel's ongoing attacks. Now, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps pledges revenge and says it has launched attacks on 27 bases hosting US troops in the Middle East, as well as Israeli military facilities in Tel Aviv. Explosions continue to be heard in Qatar and the UAE. And what US President Donald Trump has said, he's warned Iran that it will be hit with a force that has never been seen before if it hits very hard today. Now, Iran's government says that an interim council, which includes President Masoud Pezeshkian, will oversee the country until a new supreme leader is elected. Iranian state media say at least 201 people have been killed in the attacks across 24 provinces. And these are some of the latest updates that Iran's retaliatory attacks have targeted Israel and US assets in multiple Middle East countries, including Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Oman. Now, amidst this entire confusion, the government of India has released a statement just a short while back. I would want to show it to you. Can we have that statement play out? Yes. So this is from the Ministry of External Affairs that India is deeply concerned at the recent developments in Iran and the Gulf region. We urge all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation, and prioritize the safety of civilians. Dialogue and diplomacy should be pursued to de escalate tensions and address the underlying issues. Sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states must be respected. Our missions in the region are in touch with Indian nationals and have issued appropriate advisories asking them to remain vigilant, stay in contact with the missions, and follow local security guidance. This is the statement coming in from the MEA. In fact, the opposition had been saying that why the government was silent all this while, and that this kind of a statement, Supriya Shrinate has reacted to it, and I would like to show her tweet as well. She said that silence would have been better than this nondescript statement that dilutes India's moral voice. India's response to the assassination of a leader of a sovereign republic should have been unequivocal condemnation, not recent developments. Quote and unquote. We are a civilization that has stood for what is right. We've been a guiding light for the world against injustice and oppression. We've never been a mute spectator to bullies or anarchy. The world looks at us to speak truth to power and play our rightful role in restoring peace, which we must. Moral ambiguity is cowardice. Now, what I'm told through the sources, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is returning sometimes around 9:30 p.m. tonight, and followed after that is a cabinet committee on security, because a whole lot of decisions have to be taken. One must not forget there are lots of Indians who not only stay in Iran, but in the entire Gulf region. If you look at the population, it's almost close to 1 crore people. Now, what happens if the escalation happens? Will their lives be in danger? What will happen to them? What about the evacuation program? And besides that, why has India given such a muted response, given the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi just returned from Israel? And with this kind of a statement, the social media is abuzz as to what kind of a statement is it? Is India trying to do a balancing act? But beyond that, the big question on Iran, what happens there? And how long will this war continue? Do we see any signs of abating? Joining me this evening is former Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. Sir, thank you so much for joining. We have international affairs expert and veteran journalist Sanjay Kapoor. Thank you so much for joining. And we have Pushpraj Deshpande, who's policy expert and author, and also works closely with the Foreign Affairs Department of the Congress. Thank you so much, Pushpraj, for joining. And I'll begin with Ambassador Trigunayat. Ambassador Trigunayat, how serious is this escalation after Khamenei died, or rather, and his entire family members? What I'm told is that Ayatollah Arifi now is the interim supreme leader, but the escalation continues unabated. Do you see any signs of all this getting mitigated at any point of time?
Well, I think it is a bit too soon to say that there will be any mitigation or lowering of tensions because the Americans from the very beginning have been planning for this kind of a regime change, and that is their common foreign policy agenda everywhere. This is perhaps the 67th or 68th regime change that has happened, that they have undertaken. There is a huge list that going around viral on the social media. But this was exactly the same play out. Those of us who have been watching the region knew that this is going to happen. And we have seen that what happened in June, when there is a 12 days war followed, 6 rounds of negotiations had taken place. And immediately, while that was all working on, we saw the Israelis attacking, and then so they always work in tandem. Precisely the same kind of a thing happened this time as well. So it was a matter of which day, and not the whether or not. So we knew that. And last time also, if you remember, that Israel has developed this new decapitation strategy, which has been quite effective as far as Hezbollah is concerned or the Hamas is concerned. And last time in June also, they wanted to take out Khamenei. But at that time, President Trump told them not to, and therefore it was not done. However, this time I think the Israelis were able to convince. And during the negotiations, President Trump was himself losing patience, thinking while the negotiations were nearly complete this time. The Iranians had agreed to give in a lot that they had never agreed before with regard to the enrichment, possession, and all kinds of things except missiles. And the perception of the not the United States is directly threatened, but the United States policy in the region essentially is to secure Israel. And for that, they have gone to any extent. So it is that game which is being played out. And
Ambassador, allow me to interrupt you. Uh, is Donald Trump biting more than he can chew, given the fact that the midterm elections are due and he's taken a lot of chances in just going about and protecting Israel? Now, what happens? And I'll just show you a tweet of what Kamala Harris has said. Can we put out Kamala Harris's tweet? Yeah. So she's written, Donald Trump is dragging the United States into a war the American people do not want. Let me be clear, I'm opposed to a regime change war in Iran, and our troops are being put in harm's way for the sake of Trump's war of choice. Now, the entire statement, of course, is there by Kamala Harris, but is Donald Trump really taking a chance, Ambassador Trigunad? Because I'm sure he will also get a lot of pushback from within America on this.
of course, I mean, technically, it is an illegal war because he needs permission and authorization from the Congress, which he has not done. And therefore, he'll have to go back to them, especially if there are any body bags that go back to the United States. So that won't be an easy. Now, we were not talking about whether the US policy and Kamala Harris's or the Congress, others, so many people in the United States or anywhere in the world, you may say whatever it is, but the way that Trump has behaved ever since he has been in power is something that no country has the capacity at this stage to be able to contain him. He also knows he has nothing much to lose. He has this 2 years more. Whatever happens in the next congressional elections is a thing that might put a little bit of a break on him. But he has proven like that. So it is something that is going on. Now, the question is that what is going to happen to the Middle East? Because what happens there is of utmost importance for us. That is the biggest challenge for India in the going forward. And because we are dependent a great deal, it is of existential nature to us. And we are not getting into the morality of it, whether you are condemned or not condemned, because that serves no purpose, frankly. I mean, just by uttering some words of this thing, China, what has it done? Nothing, except uttering some words. So you might take, I mean, I don't get into this political debate on that particular issue. But at the same time, what we have said is very important. That should be understood. India has said that there is the sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected. That has been our first statement yesterday. And that is what sovereignty for what? For whom? Sovereignty basically is for Iran when the Americans and the Israelis attacked. And when Iran attacked the others, Gulf countries, that's also the same case. Since we follow this policy of dehyphenation, we can't alienate one for the other. You have to look at your national interest as well. So I think it is in that context that this was a balanced statement at this stage. I mean, if you just go and make a bravado kind of a thing, you serves no purpose to anybody for that matter. And you have to be mindful of the outcomes that you are looking at at the end of the day. As you mentioned, we have about 10 million people there, and their welfare is of utmost importance at the moment. Now, Strait of Hormuz is being closed. You will
Yeah.
have the navigation issues. Now, the energy security will be impacted. The price will hit the roof. Now, we don't know which way it is going. And so that is something that is India. So I hope that the next meeting that Prime Minister is having with the Cabinet Committee will decide exactly if the really it goes up, how are we going to provide assistance to the 10 million people in the region. So that is the immediate priority for India.
Exactly. So you're saying that the immediate priority should be to protect those Indians who are in the Gulf region and also in Iran. But you were talking about the oil crisis. Coming to Sanjay now. Sanjay, how do we see this energy crisis now panning up? Now, today was a Sunday. Yesterday was a Saturday when this war started escalating. And today, Khamenei in the morning, all that news broke that Khamenei has been killed. But tomorrow being a Monday, when we will have the stock markets buzzing, then the Strait of Hormuz is closed. How do we see this entire energy crisis getting navigated? Do you think that Prime Minister can take some important call tonight? Because what I'm told through the government sources is that there is a cabinet committee on security tonight, and some important decisions could be taken. How much will it be official? We do not know as of now. But what happens to the oil prices? And tomorrow, the markets also open up.
I think there will be a crisis, undoubtedly, but I think there was some kind of thinking that had gone into how the oil is going to come in the absence of anything coming from from Russia for that matter. So there are about 40 odd container tankers which are going to service the Venezuela-India lines now in the coming days, and the other ones we will provide. But the oil from Venezuela is a bit sticky. It is a and it requires changes in our refineries. It's not going to be easy doing that. But now, after Venezuela's entire decision making has been compromised, taken over by the Americans and especially the President Trump, you would find much of the Venezuelan oil coming to India and its refineries being put to good use. But that's only part of the problem. It will buy more from Angola and Nigeria. It will buy from some other countries, and that is how it hopes to overcome the shortfall. But it will be a very expensive energy regime that will be following in the coming days. So it's not going to be very easy. But coming back to some of the questions that Ambassador has raised, I think I'm largely agree with him. But I have a disagreement only on the fact that India could have taken a model stand on this. They could have rather resorting to homilies about the fact that sovereignty should be respected. I think sovereignty has been violated most wantonly by United States of America and Israel. India should have been smart enough and strong enough and cogent enough to say all that the sovereignty has been violated and the right of Iran should be restored, which we haven't done that. So things are going to look very grim in the coming days, and I don't know how it is all going to pan out and whether the war is going to end in the next 24 hours or will carry on for the next 24 days. I can't really say at the moment, but it's a very grim situation because what I'm hearing from many friends who are there in Dubai that the bombs are just going off in every 20 minutes. There is interception by the UAE authorities of the bombs. So some of them are falling too, and that is happening in Dubai, which is far away. But what's happening in Iran is also very deeply disturbing. About 200 people have been killed, out of which about 100 odd are young girls. The entire village is without girls now. So it is really disturbing, really very troublesome. And India would not like a situation where the entire control of the Middle East is taken over by Israel because that will be a force that we cannot handle at the moment.
But what I'm also reading is that the oil tankers off the coast of Oman, they have been attacked. Apparently, some crew members, or which some Indians were also there. I don't know how many of them have died, but there are reports that oil tankers have been attacked. Now, how do you see this? Do you see this as a retaliatory measure by Iran?
No, surely this is an attempt like we'll die, but we'll take you down also. That is the attitude that Iran is exhibiting. And, with raising the red flag at the Qom mosque,
Yeah.
suggests that, they're resorting to Qurbani in a manner that we haven't really seen in a long time. They're willing to die and take whomsoever they can take down. At the moment, they've also brought down a predator, which is not a predator, but a reaper, which is a $40 million weapon system which has been there. They brought it down. They had shown a similar expertise in the past, so they've done that again, and that should be a cause of worry because it shows that Iranians, despite the fact that they don't control the skies, which is entirely managed by the Israelis and the United States at the moment, are in a position to do things that surprise many people. So let's see how it all goes. It is disturbing at the moment. I think I'll
Is it
allow
true,
Professor
Sanjay,
Yasser.
that they've announced? Is it true that they've announced a mourning period of 40 days where people have been asked to just go ahead and fight for the country? What are those reports? I was reading it in on few websites. What does that
Oh
what does
yeah,
that mean in terms of for for the people of Iran?
in the Shia community, the 40-day mourning is imperative for people who pass away in this manner. So they're
Hmm.
using that period of both shahadat as well as the period of the fasting Ramzan that is going on for mobilizing the people and making them take certain vows and go after them. So let's see. But I can also tell you this on the flip side is that there is a lot of growing support for the intervention. It's not that it's only one sided that we are seeing because people in Iran were sick and tired of the clergy at that point of time. But how it has happened is they're not very happy about it because at the end of it, they all are nationalists and they don't want anybody else to intervene. Ideally, they would have liked them to go themselves, but that is how the state is.
Right. I just go back to Ambassador Trigunath for a question, and then I'll come to Pushpraj. That Ambassador, we are seeing that Trump is not keeping silent. He's saying that they will step up the attacks. Now, to what level can America go? They've already killed Khamenei, his closest family members. Now, what could be the next aim of America? Will they kill all the leaders, or will they try to eliminate all those leaders who are part of the council? How is it? I mean, what do you foresee in the coming days?
Well, I think that if they really, and this is the first time, I think, not that regime change agenda, as I told, has always been there with the United States, but this time they have been very openly talking about it. And President Trump's very first statement was that we will give the country back to you and all that by removing these people. So now you know that they will not be able to maybe take the regime change because there's an ideology. There are people who support the regime. At the same time, there are, as Sanjay said, there are a lot of people who are disgruntled with the regime. They're happy with the killing of Khomeini. But at the same time, now what we are looking at is that probably they will try once again. They have already killed a large number of people, actually, defense minister, the army chief, and everybody else. And they have tremendous penetration, especially the Mossad in Iran. And they have been very successfully able to carry out these kind of decapitation. And they will not hesitate to remove the second rung of the leaders that one is thinking of might take over. We should not be surprised if the current council, which we are looking at, and you mentioned about, is also eliminated.
Right. But also news coming in, Ambassador Trigunai, that at least 9 people have reportedly been killed in clashes outside the US consulate in Karachi because angry crowds smashed the windows and law enforcement used batons and tear gas to disperse them. That is what the officials have said. Some 25 individuals are said to have been injured. Are we going to see such kind of attacks on US consulates growing? If it has started in Pakistan, it could start in other Gulf countries as well, Ambassador Tripanath?
Yeah, it actually, the Gulf countries is a little more complex because, see, Iran has.
Just allow me to interrupt you, sir, for a moment. These are the pictures coming from Karachi, I believe, where the US consulate has been vandalized. Here you see the protesters, and that's what the latest news says, that about 25 individuals have been injured and 9 people have reportedly been killed. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, in Pakistan, there is a certain section, about 10-12% of the people who are Shia. And as you know, Khamenei has been the leader of the Shia faith, and they looked at him with great reverence. And so obviously, I mean, the people are waking up to this reality and you can see it in many countries. Iraq is also there. Now we'll see Lebanon and other places also. But as far as Gulf countries are concerned, except for Bahrain, there are about 70% Shia Muslims, and in Saudi Arabia, there are about 30%. So I think that we will not see so much there, for the simple reason is A, the regimes are stronger. B, they have been attacked by Iranian missiles and drones. So they may be the bases of America, but at the same time, this is violation of their sovereignty as well by the Iranians. And so, in this particular stroke of luck, maybe for their own survival, they have alienated and brought all these Gulf countries together once again. And so, the old status quo, basically between Saudi Arabia and Iran, is almost there. I mean, so this is something that will benefit the Americans and will benefit Israel going forward in that sense.
Okay, so let me come to Pushpraj now. Pushpraj, there's a huge pushback. What I'm told in Lucknow this evening, there were protests by the Shia community. How do you see and what are you expecting? What could come out of the Cabinet Committee on Security? Okay, I think Pushpraj is on the phone. Let me come to Sanjay on this, and then I'll go back to Anil Trigunayat. Sanjay, what can we expect? India has already issued a statement, but how is the domestic? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. So how
Sorry.
do you think it's going to how do you think that the domestic politics is going to play out? There were reports of how Shia community is protesting Khamenei's killing. Say, for example, I saw reports of protests by the Shia community in Lucknow. How do you think that the government is going to handle this in India?
Good evening to you and our panelists and our viewers, Niluji. See, the Shia community's protest would be particularly worrying for the BJP government, given that they have actively tried to foment discord between the Shia and Sunni communities, wooing the Shias towards themselves. And a section of the Shia community across India has been shifting its alliances and coffers to the BJP. So this would be particularly worrisome to the BJP. More important than the protest itself, I mean, the BJP is clearly not coming out openly and saying what it should have by now, and I'll explain just in a moment why it should have. But that is going to really impact this particular support that they were counting on for the last, even if it might not be electorally significant, it has been significantly. I mean, it has financially been quite significant. That's one thing. The other thing is that, as both the ambassador and Sanjay sir said, given that oil from West Asia is going to now be a problem, we're going to be forced to buy from the Venezuelan oil that is American controlled, because obviously we have surrendered the right to buy Russian oil under US pressures. Oil purchases from Russia dropped from 36.3% in the last quarter of 25 to 9% in January 26. This is going to severely hit consumption. Already oil prices are going to jump up, petroleum and other products. But more importantly, consumption, which is at a historic 50-year low, is now going to get further exacerbated because of these oil pressures. This is further in the next 3 months going to be exacerbated because of the impact on the trade deal, the 0% tariff. So this is actually going to have multiple domino effects that the BJP government would be very, very careful to balance. That's one part of it. The second thing, if I may, Niluji, make a general comment in response to what I heard. If you could just give me a couple of minutes, Niluji. See, I understand that India has to walk a tightrope, and it reinforces the need to remain non-aligned in letter and spirit, something that this government had been dissing for the better part of the last 10 years. But keep that aside. We have good strategic relationship with both Israel and the United States, and a long-standing relationship with Iran and other nations in West Asia. Now, Israel is crucial for us in terms of defense. Iran was critical for our energy security and geopolitically crucial as a gateway to Central Asia. We also have lakhs of diaspora Indians in West Asia. We get all of that. But given the global disruptions and reassertion of primordial rules of statecraft, it was critical for India to reaffirm its commitment to the rules-based world order. I mean, this is mandated by Article 15 of our Constitution, that the government has to respect international law and treaty obligations. These include the United Nations Charter. Now, the targeted use of force to destabilize the leadership of governing structures of a sovereign nation, whether in Iran or in Venezuela, both signal a disturbing revival of coercive unilateralism and regime change doctrines. Now, it is the BJP government that for the last 11 years has been harping on about how George Soros has been allegedly interfering, and there's this deep state conspiracy and civil society is a conspiracy in the internal domestic affairs of India. This should have been the first thing that the BJP government should have condemned, because we have to agree that it is the inalienable right of every nation's citizens, not an external party, to determine their own political future. If tomorrow you start saying that external powers have the authority or right to engineer regime change, what is stopping them from doing so in any of our neighborhood? That is the first part of it. The second thing, I heard something very troubling, that taking a moral stance is just empty words and vacuous morality doesn't matter. I'm sorry, words matter greatly. And the Prime Minister Modi's perceived sanction of actions that by his visit to Israel undermine the sovereignty of multiple nations, and it also undermines. One second, listen. Just listen to me. Listen to this. It undermines India's own principled position on Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Now, if we start saying that other nations have the right to attack other nations and colonize them, our stand on Pakistan occupying Kashmir also weakens internationally. To preserve both moral authority and strategic credibility, India must apply uniformly, it can't be selective, uniformly and without exception, the very principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity that India has consistently invoked in the last 75 years in defense of its own legitimate national interests. Not doing so and saying that it's just empty words that we don't need to say weakens our own position. And Prime Minister Modi, in visiting Israel at this juncture, creates the perception of a political endorsement of military escalation and colonization. This is deeply antithetical to us, and it impairs our strategic imperatives also. And not to mention our commitment to the UN Charter, specifically Article 2.4 and the Articles 2.3. Are we now saying that we have given this up completely, that we are no longer part of the rules-based world order, and we are just going to be part of this private board of peace? Is this how we are going to conduct our world affairs?
Right. In the light of what Pushpraj has said, Ambassador Thakur, I do think that there should have been at least some expression of condolence from the Indian government over Khamenei getting killed and over what's happening in Iran, rather than just issuing such a generic statement. I mean, it's fine, they're trying to do some balancing act, but also looking at India's glorious past and how India has been playing a pivotal role in situations like these, and an important one. Do you think that there should have been an expression of condolence for Khamenei from the Indian government side?
Well, let me, I don't want to get into the politics of what Pushpraj is saying. I have seen what happened even during the previous years, because I have served long enough. And I'm not a spokesperson for the BJP. So I will not defend the BJP's position in this particular thing. What I'm trying to say is that India has not given up on that. That is precisely the reason that, because our bigger partners are also, apart from Iran, we also have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. All those countries are very important for us, both for our energy security and for diaspora security as well. Now, Iran has also attacked on them. So instead of naming everybody, this is exactly the same words that have been said and that have been adhered to. And today, that statement that you showed has been reiterated in that. So that is precisely. Secondly, Jaishankar has spoken to all the leaders, all his counterparts, including the Iranian, the Israeli, everybody else in the region. That's what you do. The diplomacy is all about. I mean, you have to look after that interest. That's precisely what we did during the Ukraine time. When the war was going on, at the same time, you had to take out your 20,000 people from there. So if you think, I mean, and as Pushpraj is saying, let me tell you just one more thing. And I was ambassador to Libya. India had taken a position, and we have always taken the position against the external intervention for regime changes. That has always been the case. And even now, we don't endorse it at all. But at the same time, look at this. We had abstained, not only voted against, but we abstained on that UN resolution in 2010 in Libya when the NATO intervention took place under the pretext of right to protect. What happened? India was considered as the biggest villain in the region and in Libya. I had lived through that terrible time when the grassroots people were conveyed, and when revolutions take place, when changes take place, then the country, India, was looked at as if it is a country which has, betrayed the Arab cause and the Libyans. And that was something that happened. And we had not done that. We had taken a principled position that we don't allow that. So we decided to refrain and abstain on that vote, particular vote. But the outcome of that vote was quite terrible for us because the way it was projected by everybody. Today, India is talking to everyone. And Middle East, as I said, is the most consequential region for us. Now, as Pushparaj says, that if, for example, the Shias have been cultivated by the BJP and they've been supporting BJP, and a Shia leader has been assassinated and he's not been particularly condoled, I hope that they will be done, or somebody will be representing, if possible, during this time, during his, permission or whatever. So I think that it is not that I'm saying that we must abdicate. Then he's saying that, okay, should we give up? I'm sorry, Pushparaj, I'm not talking about the certain things that you said, is that should we give up? I mean, look at the reality. Smell the tea, man. What is happening? I mean, what is not done everywhere?
Right.
This 7 regime changes have not happened today. It has been going on forever since the last 50, 60 years, since 45 onwards.
Right.
So, what I'm saying is, you have had this situation all the time. And the power speaks, it has its own language. You may have whatever laws are there, UN today is not able to deliver anything. Why? We know it. Now we may pretend that, okay, you may make a noise, you do not make a noise. Yes, you should say the right thing. We have said the right thing.
No, but you mentioned about UN. I'll come to you, Pushparaj, just in a bit. But you mentioned, since you mentioned about United Nations, what is the role of United Nations? It seems that it has almost become defunct, Ambassador Trigunath, in times like these.
But why do you blame the UN? I mean, I don't understand. You blame the tool rather than the people who are holding the tool. I mean, the problem with the UN is it's a P5 and the veto power that the 5 countries enjoy. So as long as they are the biggest obstacle to the functioning of the United Nations. As simple as that. So, I mean, whatever we may say, I mean, today you may say whatever, but when anything goes to the United Nations Security Council, USA, France and UK will veto it. Only one country is required to veto. Russia and China will make their noises. That's it. So we have to be real. I'm saying that we must also, when we craft a policy, we are living very unusual time, under very unusual times. So when you are living through these kind of times where there is only one hyperpower, which is doing what it is doing anywhere and getting away with it, because there is no other alternative, there is no balance of power in the system. And so therefore, in that kind of a situation, what kind of leverage you have? So this is what I'm saying. I mean, you got to be realistic. Also at this time, yes.
Right. So let me get in a response from Pushparaj. You wanted to respond to what you said. Yes, Pushparaj, go ahead.
No, so Niluji, with not discounting anything the ambassador is saying about the efficacy of the United Nations, I completely agree with that. And the fact that multiple regime changes have happened in the last 100 years. I'm not denying that. I mean, the US has been at war for, I think, 223 or 225 years in its with other nations. Many of them are to effect regime change. So I'm not denying that. But this would be the first time when India is perceptively aligning with one particular nation when there is a regime change operation going on, which is objectionable given our long-standing commitment to non-alignment. That is the one part of it. And the second thing is, we cannot divorce the politics from this. If Prime Minister Modi had gone to both Israel and Iran and said the same thing and then given this statement, which is sort of saying the right things, it would have been perfectly kosher. Why this visit is particularly ill-timed is because it conveys alignment and endorsement. And this, I'm going to weigh my words very carefully. It risks conveying alignment and endorsement of an incumbent government in Israel, the Likud party, on the eve of national elections. They're going to elections in 5 months. This prime minister every survey says that he's pipped to lose. You are going there to actually prop up an incumbent government's actions to prop himself up. And this concern is not without precedent, Ambassador, that in 2019, the Prime Minister of our country did a rally in Texas, in Houston, which was widely perceived as blurring the line between state diplomacy and partisan political signaling during the electoral cycle of the United States. Both incidents, what happened in 2019 in Houston and what he's done now, underscore the inherent risks in the conflation of diplomatic engagement with electoral politics. And I'm sorry, our government, no government should be interfering in the internal political affairs of other nations. If you're going to give a statement that we want peace and we are abiding by the rules, by rules-based order, and both nations should end hostilities and resolve bilateral matters through negotiation, diplomacy, and dialogue, then you should not have gone there. I'm sorry. This particular visit, even if it was in the pursuit of our strategic interests, which is still yet to be seen, any kind of strategic goals or gains that we have made, it still remains to be seen whether they are actually this thing. This should have been done prudently at a time when you're not going to escalate. Did the Prime Minister and the government not know that he's going there on the eve of a conflict? Does he not know that this Likud party and the Prime Minister Netanyahu are extremely unpopular and are likely to lose, or that the election, even if he doesn't know that the election is in the next 5 months? How would we feel if if let's assume UPA government was in 2014? Let's assume that President Obama had come to India and started campaigning on behalf of this thing, and India had gone to war with Pakistan, and he would have come and endorsed this. I mean, this is like visiting Hitler just before he's going to invade Poland. How can you claim that this is not political and this is in any case kosher?
Right. Well, a lot of developments are still happening, but yes, the Middle East is in a complete turmoil right now. Sanjay, coming to you now for the final comments. We'll have to keep a close watch, I think, every hour as to what's really happening. But what would you say towards the end? And tomorrow, I'm more concerned about the markets now and also about the safety of so many Indians who are in the Gulf region. Yes, Sanjay.
I don't think the safety of the Indians in Dubai and other places is really getting imperiled. They will probably are, resting in the basement and others in the bomb shelters which are there. But the debate that is unfolding with the moment between what Mr. Ambassador Trigunayat is saying and Pushparaj is saying is something that will roil on for some more time, primarily because both sides seemingly are correct. It's not that they're only one side to the truth, because Ambassador is a realist. He knows what really happens when you practice diplomacy in a certain way, and Pushparaj is right in saying the other thing also. So let's keep talking about it till the time matter is resolved at some stage. But there is a great amount of dearth of morality that's taking place in the world, and that is very worrisome.
That's true. That's true. So we'll have to keep a close watch on this story, which is constantly developing. The attacks are being stepped up, and the way Donald Trump has responded that he's not going to leave Iran anytime soon. I mean, the attacks. So we'll have to really see and keep a close eye on what's happening there. We'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Ambassador Trigunayat, Sanjay, Pushparaj. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.